click the up button and click the bell. Bye! Hi guys, we're back with another one. You're listening to the Re-Education Podcast.
Hi guys, hi everybody. Welcome back to the Re-Education Podcast. My name's Simone and I've got a special guest here who I'm going to allow to introduce themselves.
Hi everyone, my name's Rhia. I'm a teacher and I am the founder of Black Teachers Connect.
So Rhia, I obviously know a bit about you, but I want you to tell the listeners right now, everybody that's tuned in, a bit about yourself, your platform, a bit more about what you do.
Okay. So, as I said, my name is Rhia. I'm a teacher of sociology and psychology. So I teach in a London school. So I'm based in London, grew up in London. So I work inside a school inside London. And I founded a platform called Black Teachers Connect when I started out in teaching, as I realized there was a real gap in society for having a network for Black teachers. I felt as though Black teachers were left out on their own and that there was no network for them. And I couldn't find Black teachers to reach out to when I was going into the profession. And so I thought, let me create a space so no one else will have to do that. And so the main focus of Black Teachers Connect is supporting the recruitment and retention of Black teachers. And so we do that through supporting teachers into their routes into teaching, so whether they want to do a PGCE, a school direct route, whether they want to volunteer as a TA first and then move up further. And then we support them throughout their careers. So we support them in terms of applying for leadership positions, moving on up, offering CPDs, telling them where to go to get the right advice. And so we are a network and we bring Black teachers together. And so our main aim is to have a much more diverse teacher workforce and ensure that Black teachers feel comfortable and don't leave the profession.
Wow. that is a lot, and I'm telling you, it's so needed, it's so necessary right now.
So needed.
Even more now, than it ever has been. So Rhia, you reached out to me via via social media. Because a few weeks ago, well, it was more than a few weeks ago now, I posted the introduction, the launching, like the logo, and a bit about what I was starting in terms of my podcast. And you was one of the first emails that I received the same day saying, I've seen your post. It looks exciting and wondering if I could be involved at some point. And I was just immediately taken aback by the response, by somebody just seeing a post and wanting to get involved and come onto the platform. And I was just so excited, but a bit nervous and scared, like I mentioned to you already.
Right.
But through our conversations, we obviously looked at, okay, this is what the podcast is about. What would you like to bring and have a discussion about? So guys, today, the main topic of discussion is all about education and how the current events are going to impact how the classrooms look, how they sound, how people are entering, how people are communicating, all of the above. Just classrooms are going to be very different. And from a teacher's perspective, I thought it would be great if we could just have a conversation. And I want you to start off by saying why you chose this topic as a conversation piece.
So for me, being a Black teacher, but not only a Black teacher, being a Black woman who has a Black father, who has Black brothers, who will one day have a Black son and a Black daughter, I feel as though I work in a classroom and I can't run away from these issues. These are issues that are affecting the children within my classrooms on the daily. And so for me, it's really important that I give a platform to talk about these things. And so when I saw your post, I just thought, wow, like someone else is doing the work in our community, because Black Teachers Connect can't do everything. We can't have this, we can't have that. You're doing a podcast, you're educating people that may not actually be in the education system themselves. They may just be parents, they may just be everyday people that are just involved in these conversations. And the more that people know about these things, the more that change can come around. And for me, the classroom is just a really important space. Obviously, I'm in a classroom every single day, and I think people underestimate the power of the classroom and how the classroom can be used for change. A child always remembers everything, and they always remember their school journey and their school memory. So the classroom is an important place into where we actually curate and have these discussions and ensure we're creating safe spaces for our children.
100%. What I wanted to ask is, what were the conversations and what was the classroom like before COVID-19, before George Floyd's murder was so so publicly, out there on the TVs, on your phones, hearing about it? Like, what were the conversations around race, really?
So for me, being a sociology teacher, we introduce and we talk about race anyway. So we talk about how race, gender, and class have an impact on you in your life journey through society. So I'm quite used to having conversations around race with my students. It's not something we shy away from. It's something they're used to. For example, looking at the 2011 riots, looking at the killing of Mark Duggan. Was he killed because he was a Black man? We've had those discussions in my classroom. And so my students aren't shy of those things, but for students that are down the hall in, say, maths or English, that do not study sociology, that may be doing a different subject like geography, for example, they wouldn't have had those discussions. They won't be able to set themselves up to be able to talk about these issues. And so my classroom was already a safe space to have these conversations. What I would say is that we've never really got down to the real nitty gritties of society, and we haven't really broken down race within our own classroom. We've always done it on the external level, so looking at society as a whole, but we've never done a self-reflection. How does race impact us here right now in this classroom? And so I think that is where the conversation will begin to change for me and my students as we move into the new academic year.
And as a teacher, not only of sociology, but just a teacher in general, are you given any, let me call it, freedom or flexibility around incorporating such conversations within the classroom setting, despite it being part of the topic that is sociology?
I believe so. I believe our teachers in our school are given the autonomy to discuss things that they want to. When teachers came forward, especially after the killing of George Floyd, and said, we need to have something with the kids, we need to talk about this, the school was more than receptive. But the only issue I took was that the school didn't say it first. It took for teachers to come forward and therefore say, it took Black teachers to come and say, we need to talk about these issues. We've got Black students, we've got Black boys walking around our school. That was the biggest issue that I took with it. So although the school was open to actually having the discussions on Black Lives Matter, to having the discussions on how systemic racism is impacting our children today, it shouldn't take the teachers to suggest it. It should take the SLT, the head teacher, to say, wow, this is something that's impacting my children, and actually I need to do something about it. And so then therefore I begin to question the school's values and whether the values themselves align. And so although they give us the freedom to talk about these things, I ask myself, if a teacher didn't suggest it, would we still be stepping on eggshells? Would we actually be talking about it? What would happen? So a bit of a disparity there, but yeah.
I honestly feel that with the Black Lives Matter movement resurging, it has actually highlighted in organizations and environments just all over the UK. I'm just going to talk about the UK because that's where we live. And then I can even just say London because that's where we are. It's shining a light on just how far removed people in positions of power are from the actual discussion and topic of racism, systemic racism, institutionalized racism, all of the different levels of racism. And it's that exact reason as to why Black people within the organizations have to make it a topic of discussion. I'm in a workplace, I work for a charity, and we work predominantly with young Black males. After George Floyd was killed, because that's what it is. I can't stand when people keep saying the death of, the murder of George
Right.
Floyd, because
Exactly.
let's call it what it is.
Right.
There was no like reaching out to see how members of staff of color were feeling or just were in the organization. And it took for people outside of the organization to actually ask me, like, Simone, how are you? With all that's going on in the world, how are you? For them to ask me that and they ain't even in the organization, I was like, hold on a minute. So I'm only human when I'm outside of work, but not when I'm inside of work. So I sent an email. And now with this email, you're going to feel uncomfortable. And I'm no longer just thinking, oh, well, maybe I don't really want to upset anybody. I don't want to do this. I don't want to, as you said, treading on eggshells, ruffling the feathers. Like I don't want to stir up something because, you know, but I said, no, and no. Because if I don't say anything, I'm complicit in my silence. And it's teaching my children that it's okay to be quiet. It's okay to just sweep it under the carpet. And we work with predominantly young Black males. And I owe it to not only myself, but to them to speak up, because we can't be representing this group of society, but not representing that group within the organization. You can't do it.
Exactly.
It has to be matched. It can't be unmatched. And I just, it's just, I'm hoping that there's a lot more people in workplaces, whether it's education, healthcare, criminal justice, whatever it is, funeral care. And I say that because my mum's works in funeral care. But yeah, that's a whole different topic.
No, but honestly, what you're saying is so true.
More people are opening up and having those, well, what are we doing about this? Because it is a problem. It's been a problem for decades, for centuries. What are we going to do about it now?
Right. We tweeted something out about maybe just after the killing of George Floyd. We tweeted out you can't teach Black children and be silent against the injustices against them. Yes. And so for me, you've got a whole, especially here in the UK. I'm not even talking about America right now, but America is like a mirror to the UK when we look at the education system. But we have about 84% of the teacher workforce is white. And so for me, if we have a lot of Black issues, we have issues to do with Black Lives Matter happening. Are we creating spaces where our children will feel safe to have those conversations and to feel like they can talk about these issues that are facing them? And so for me, I feel like, yes, we can't stay silent, but it's always seems to be that it's the Black people that have to speak out. When will it be someone else that decides to stand up and say, this isn't right? When is the white teacher going to email and say, hey, we need to talk about Black Lives Matter, our educators matter, our children matter? That needs 100%. To happen also.
100%. We spoke yesterday and you mentioned about the documentary, The School That Tried to End Racism.
Right.
And I got a message at 9:06 from a parent at my kid's old school telling me to watch it, because I feel like amongst the Black community, we've all just been sending these messages about programs that are not being advertised, but are very much
sitting in limbo.
but are very much detailing and highlighting how far back this issue of racism and the system just being against us, not being built for us, goes. So between the little groups that I'm in and a few other people, we've been sharing little links. And when it was sent to me, it was 9:06. It was Thursday. I was in my garden.
Wow.
And I thought, I'm going to have to catch this when I go back upstairs into the house, because right now, for me to leave and go upstairs, I've already missed a part. And I want to be able to dedicate myself fully to the program. So I made sure after speaking to you, I watched that last night. I don't think I went to my bed until like 1 o'clock. And oh my gosh, I was immediately looking for where the school was so that I can send my kids there. Immediately.
It was amazing. It was an amazing show. Really so interesting that it's come at this time as well, because I'm guessing they filmed that last year, and
Yes.
it's so telling in how society works, that something so big can happen, and now we have this this documentary showcasing how they try to talk about race in schools, which is so needed.
I love the fact that they had a group of year 7 students, so 11 and 12-year-olds. And the way that they were able to grasp the concept of unconscious bias,
Right.
white privilege, like how much the system was not designed for people of color.
Right.
It was just like, now, if you can teach this at year 7, what do you really think that you could do maybe at year 4 or even year 3
Wow.
of reception?
Wow. Yeah.
Because
crazy.
education starts at home, number one, and continues the moment they leave the house and continue growing up. Like, education is not something that you just go to school for and that's it. Like, it's all around us, and children, like you said, they absorb everything that they see, hear, and experience. Right. And the fact that the young boy Mackay, he said that when his mum was asking, I would hope that if you'd experienced something like that, I would know and you would let me know. And I could see the level of frustration that she was displaying is the level of frustration that I would feel from if my son had experienced something and didn't come and tell me, and didn't even feel comfortable to tell me.
Right.
That broke my heart. And to see that little boy cry when he's saying that he wasn't even making any noise, he wasn't shouting, he wasn't saying anything, but the shopkeeper told him to leave. And there was nothing he could do about it. That broke my heart, because it's those simple little examples and scenarios and incidents that we face from a very young age as Black people, Black males and Black females, that other communities would say, but so what if he wasn't making noise, or if he was making noise? Obviously, the shopkeeper told him to go outside for a reason. No.
I don't think so. And it's so interesting how that incident occurring outside in a shop is very similar to those things that occur within schools. You have Black students who are over policed by white educators, that are seen to be aggressive, that are seen to be loud, are seen to be dismissive, don't respect authority, simply because of maybe the tone of their voice. Simply maybe because of how they approach the situation. I've had many instances where I've seen children stand out of their classroom for doing very minor things. Black children standing outside, wasting their time, not having the education of everyone else, simply because those labels are applied to them. So in that moment, a label was applied to Mackay, and he actually never fulfilled that label. He was never loud. He was never a disruptive child. And so the shopkeeper acted on that. But that was solely the base of the unconscious bias that he held towards Black boys. And so those are some of the things that are impacting our Black boys today in the classroom, and our Black girls. And it's about, how do we begin to think about how do we tackle those issues firsthand in the classroom? When will teachers stop labeling Black students as being aggressive? When will they stop being excluded for the most minor issues? But you have 2 children which are still in school after they pushed a little girl in a lake, and she's dead. I don't understand. Why are our kids being over policed? It has to stop.
It has to. I go back to why I call it the re-education, because it's re-educating you on what you was taught by not being taught, what you was taught by what you saw your family, your friends do, whatever community you're from. You're taught indirectly by not being taught. If nobody's telling you that this is the right way, that's the wrong way, this is because of this, you're just going to assume that, well, that's just the way the world works, and there's nothing we can do about it. No, let us identify why it is that you think this way, why you treat us this way, why we treat each other this way, and move forward. Until we start having conversations as different communities. And I like that idea of the affinity groups. I think that applies to not just to children. I feel that should apply to adults as well.
It's
in
true.
the workplace. Because imagine if in the school that you work in, you go back in September and there's affinity groups for the teachers.
I think it would be amazing, because I feel like we don't talk about race in the workplace, let alone amongst teachers. Every time I have a conversation about, because being, as I said, sorry, I don't have to keep saying, but being from a sociology background, those things pop up. If I ever say the term white privilege, I've got white people looking at me like I'm crazy. What's white privilege? I've got no privilege. I grew up in South London too.
Yeah,
okay, then. So we can align our experiences. I don't think so. You grew up in a different part of London than I did. Trust me, it might be a similar postcode, but your experience was different.
We could have even come from the same block, but our experiences are very, very different. Very different. And it's that children don't know that as well. Children and young people aren't able to distinguish that, yes, we may come from the same area, we may come from, like you said, the same postcode, but our experience as people, when they see us, first thing they see is colour. That's it.
There we go, exactly. And that's what I say to people. Before people even see me as a woman, they see me as black. Before I'm even seen as a female, it's this girl this is a black person. And so we have to think about how do we have those conversations, especially in the workplace. I think affinity groups work in the workplace. Someone needs to put that forward. It just doesn't need to just be for the schools.
Yeah.
We need that. Yeah. Everyone needs
it,
that.
Period.
Definitely.
But no, I remember we were talking and you mentioned, so one thing I want to say is I tend to ask the question to friends and to anybody who really wants to engage in a conversation with me about the whole topic of racism and education and the Black educational experience is, do you feel that all communities should be taught Black or world history in schools?
100%. The curriculum needs an overhaul. And so the curriculum itself reflects what Britain wants our children to know. It's his story. It's a white male perspective. It's a Eurocentric curriculum focused on the experiences of Britain, but focusing on championing the British Empire, to say that Britain is the best place for you to be. And so when the kids are doing it, when they consider looking at slavery, and I was talking to my sister and I said, you didn't learn about slavery in school. And she said, yes, I did. And I said, from which perspective? An American perspective? Oh, wow. Yeah, actually, you're right. They've got you watching Roots. They've got you watching these silly programs that are not teaching you anything, talking about this American perspective of slavery, completely missing out the British experience. And so our children grow up not knowing. A lot of the people are saying tear down the statues. I'm saying no, keep them. Keep the statues so our kids will know that this is the country that they live in, that puts up statues of slave masters till this very day in 2020. And so if you can have statues of slave masters on the street, then you can teach our children that they are descendants of slaves.
Yeah.
You teach them that.
And
so you need to have that.
Right. And they're forced to live in a country, work in a country, pay taxes to their former ancestors' slave masters.
There we go.
And still have these people celebrated. I've never thought of it that way, It's really, that's a point that you make, Rhia. It really is a point. Keep them so that we can teach our children. And
if you tear them down, you erase the history. It's an erasure of history. So to me, it's like we're working backwards. Keep them so we can teach. In 2020, these statues still existed today. Yeah, the kids need to know, because if they're completely gone in 50 to 60 years' time, we're erasing all of that. And then the kids are thinking, well, we live in such a fair society. Britain is an amazing place to be. And I'm not saying that Britain doesn't have its opportunities for people. My parents came here from the Caribbean and they've had a wealth of opportunities and they've given that to me and my siblings. But at the same time, growing up in this country, you face so much much systemic racism, white people have a structural advantage over you, and you have to deal with trying to navigate yourself through that. And so I think, to your question, the curriculum does need changing, and we should be taught, children need to be taught their history in schools, a history that represents them.
I want you to share with our listeners right now what you told me yesterday about the sociology book and the information that they had in there.
So in I think it was 2018. Someone might be correct me if I'm wrong. Between 2018, around that year, 2017, 2018. So they published a sociology textbook, a GCSE one, by the way. So let's be specific on that. It's for year 10 and 11 students. And in that textbook, just for some background people that don't know, in year 10 and 11, we will look at the family and we will look at education in sociology. And so the kids are doing the family unit. And so in that textbook, in the family unit section, they look at family diversity. And in that textbook, it said, Caribbean families have no fathers. That is literally what it said. It didn't give a sociologist name. It didn't give a statistic. It didn't give anything. This was a generalization that was made. And so what I was saying to you, Simone, is this idea that I work in London, I'm Caribbean, I can break down that statistic. I will tell my students, no, that's not the truth. I have my dad. Whereas a white teacher working in Lancashire, wherever they are, wherever of England, teaching a group of white kids, that actually the textbook says, oh, miss, Caribbean families have no fathers. Okay, I'm going to note that down. And so then when that child goes to work and they meet a Caribbean girl that's working in the workplace with them, it's going to say, does your dad live with you? You know, I heard that Caribbean people don't have fathers in the home. And if that person goes on to be a teacher, they're going to have Caribbean students in their classroom and they're going to assume, well, they haven't got any father. Definitely not. I'm not going to ring a dad because you don't have one. And so that is how we create these crazy discourses and conversations within our classroom that are not tackled and they are not broken down. And so when that textbook was released and someone actually found it, that was removed from shelves. There was a whole boycott. Schools that had bought the textbook received refunds and they reprinted the textbook, removing that. But it should have never made it there in the first place.
It should never. And I want people that...
AQA approved, by the way. So AQA approved this textbook. Just so people can understand, that's an exam board approving these textbooks in the 2018, approving a textbook that makes such generalizations. They need to do better.
I want people that are listening to actually deep that, yeah? And I hope you understand what I mean when I say deep that. Like, take in what was just said, that there was a textbook, and I know there's teachers, parents listening right now.
There you go.
There was a recognized textbook with such that I couldn't even call that a stereotype. Like, that's just discrimination, racism at its finest. Like, and did they just encounter one Caribbean person that didn't have their father? Like, what was the situation? Maybe they passed away, maybe they lived in a different country. Like, where would you get that information from? And then just plant it so nicely in a textbook that AQA exam board was ready to allow people to get marks for getting that question right or wrong. Like, I don't understand it. And this is the problem. They're given, I want to say, the government given false information to our children, to other children from all communities. That generalization is just that's just ridiculous. That's horrible. That is just.
But some schools still use it though. They had the opportunity to send them back. Some schools wouldn't have sent it back, but you know how it goes.
It's just really sad. It's really bad. It's really, really bad. I guess as a parent, my children have experienced covert and overt racism in school, in primary school. My son's 10, my daughter's 6 now. And with my son, it happened for at least a 3-year period from year,
Wow.
I want to say halfway through year 1 until when I took them out when he was just about leaving year 4. And for him, it was very, 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 like, it was underhand. It was the little comments. It was the calling in, and it was the head teacher is a Black woman. And, you know, I don't have any problems. If people want to know what the school is, you can send me an email, I'll let you know. I live in Southwest London, so I can let you know what school that is. They're part of a trust too. But the school that they were in, my son just kept going through all of these different incidents, all of these different, and I was just like, hold on a minute. Hold on. At what point are you actually going to investigate all of these incidents? It can't just be that my son just got up and did this. He just got up and said that for no reason. And no, I'm not saying that it's okay. I'm not justifying the maybe the negative response that he gave, but there's always something that leads to every action has a reaction. Yeah. So what's the action that caused his reaction? Because he's a child at the end of the day. He's a child at the end of the day. And I just got tired of every week, almost every day, I got a phone call, email, voicemail. It was just getting to the point where I might as well just stop working, because clearly this school can't look after my child. They don't know how to work with him. They're not looking to get any support for him. And then when the situation happened with my daughter, I mentioned this in the previous in a previous episode, but I'm going to say it again for those in the back that didn't hear. My daughter at the age of 4 got told by a white child in her class that she couldn't play with another group in a hut, because they had that in the playground, because she had brown skin. And the way that the school presented it to me, the way that they didn't even want to deal with it, it was just, I feel like in that year, even though she started in September, there were incidents with my son earlier that year where a TA was apparently trying to tell him, you know, that there's other children that would love to take his place in that school. He's lucky to be in a school like this.
Wow.
And he said that the children from Great Ormond Street would love to be in this school. And I'm thinking, when he called me and told me that he thinks so the teacher called me, I was at an event for work. I know this is a real sidestep, but I have to get it out there. The TA called me. Bear in mind, he's not a TA in my son's class. He's just a TA, maybe in the year below. Called my phone and was like, oh, hi, it's so-and-so, it's Mr. So-and-so. I just wanted to let you know before you collected your son that there was a bit of a situation, there was a bit of a miscommunication. I was like, miscommunication? Why would you say that? He says, well, I was trying to say something to him, but I think he took it the wrong way. I said, how can an 8-year-old take something the wrong way? What did you say? He says, well, I was explaining something to him, and he took it as I said that he would have to die for other children to come to the school. I was like, whoa. Let's back up and let's slow down.
How do we get there?
Let's slow down.
Let's go to A first, because you got to B real quick.
He didn't even get to B. He jumped straight to the end of the alphabet and was telling me now he knows his ABCs next time when you sing with me. So I said, whoa. Now the teachers in that school know Simone Uja already, yeah? They know. Right. If I'm coming in or if I'm requesting to talk to you, it's a serious situation. And I'm not taking your little side steps and dodging and diving, not taking none of that stuff. Like, you need to give me a good enough response to my request and my questions. So he said, oh, well, he was filling out a reflection sheet. That's what they have. That's part of their behavior management process, their chart. Okay. If you misbehave, you get a warning. Then the second time you have to do something else. Then the third time you get reflection sheet. Next time you go to head teacher, whatever, SMT. So he got to the stage where you have to do a reflection sheet. bear in mind the situation that happened, somebody else should have been doing a reflection sheet too, because he was not the main culprit. There was multiple other children.
Mm-hmm.
And he ended up going to another class to do it, which was downstairs, I believe. And this TA decided to take upon himself to come and sit beside my son and talk to him. So I said, okay, so what did you say? I said, first of all, was you asked to talk to him? No, because I have a good relationship with your son. I said, is it? Okay, he's never told me about you, but all right, cool. What did you say? He's like, well, we were just talking. And I said, you know, he needs to sometimes think before he speaks or he acts. And, you know, he's a really good child. And there's, you know, he's really lucky to be in a school like this. And there's other children that would love to take to.
Why is it luck for
whoa.
Why is it luck?
That's what I said. You said to my child that he's lucky to be in a school like that. I was like, now that's where you got yourself in a pickle there, mate. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you think you're talking to, number one?
Exactly.
And what gave you the right to talk to my child? So I said, again, did somebody instruct you to talk to my child?
Mm-hmm.
Did he ask
who
for
gave
help?
You that? Who gave you that? Go ahead.
Did he request for your help? No, but because I have a relationship, I said, no, I have a relationship with my son. You don't have a relationship with my son. Yeah, let's get that straight. In the end, he was like, well, you know, it was just a miscommunication. I said, you know what? It's all right. I'll speak to somebody else. Goodbye. Went to the school and I picked up my son, and I think I went and spoke to the head teacher, and I said, that's not acceptable. It's not acceptable. And she's like, oh, I wasn't aware that this happened. Black woman as well. I ended up seeing the class teacher before I left, and I said to the class teacher, do you know what happened? She said, I did know what happened, and I told him that he needed to go downstairs and call you and let you know, because my child went back to the class and was like upset, and the teacher asked, what's the matter? And he said, Mr. So-and-so said that I'm going to die and the children from Great Ormond Street are going to come to the school and take my place. That teacher went,
oh my gosh.
What? And went and spoke to them. Why is it now that when we were going home, my son decided to tell me that the teachers made other comments to him, saying that he's not going to be when he grows up, he's going to be a street sweeper. Also that, you know, then he starts to talking parables to my son. So he said, you know, that there's a wise man that builds his house on concrete and there's a foolish man that builds his house on sand. You're going to be the one to build their house on sand.
What?
I was just out of my mind. Long story short, I called up the school, spoke to the head teacher, and the head teacher, the black woman, said to me that my son must be confused because she knows that TA would never say that to a student. That was the
that is where we go wrong with undermining the experiences of our own children.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was saying this earlier to someone, you know, I'm leaving my school anyway. The people, when Black people enter SLT roles, they need not forget who they are. They need not forget that they are there in a role to also protect our children.
Yep.
They need not forget where they started and where they have now ended up. Because as quick as you can rise, it's as quick as you can fall.
Mm-hmm.
And so some Black people, that especially are on SLT roles, need to also remember this. I work with a Black woman, she's on an SLT role as well. To me, she's done nothing to help the younger Black children in our school, and it's like they get into that role and their judgment becomes clouded.
Yep.
It becomes so clouded, and it's like, really? How would a child make that up an 8-year-old child? Really?
He's mistaken because she knows that TA would never say anything like that. I ended up going into the school. I really, like, that's when I lose my patience, my respect. That just goes out of the window. Till I ended up making one piece of noise in the reception, because I said I ain't leaving this school until I speak to the head teacher, and the receptionist wanted to be giving me attitude. It just so happened I didn't even know that the chair of the trust was sitting in the settee whilst I sat there, and I tell you, just like I said some BC, some PC, some RC, I said all the clerks that there were as I sat in that chair in the reception, because I said, I am not leaving this school until you speak to me about your racist teacher. not even teacher, TA. And the man overheard me, and he kept looking at me. And that got me even more ignorant, because it's a white man looking at me like now I'm being the typical aggressive, angry black woman. But you don't know why, do you? So he went into, the head teacher came out and said, oh, so-and-so, do you want to come through? And she just ignored me. She ignored me. Within 5 seconds of her leaving, she came back and said, oh, Simone, seeing as you want to speak to somebody from the board so bad, I have somebody here. I said, oh, is it? The same man that was sitting there told the head teacher, you need to bring her in here because I don't like what she was saying. I want to know why is she acting like this? What has happened in this school that I'm not aware of, that she's acting like this? She needs to come in here now and tell me what's going on. And because I know how to speak, I know how to articulate myself, and I know how to make it about the bigger picture, not just the small picture, what you see. And I said, my son is a black boy, yeah? He's going to face discrimination and racism all throughout his life. But the fact that it's starting here is not acceptable for me. This is not a private school. This is a free school. It's not private. And I live on the doorstep. So even if we didn't get in, I would have had grounds to appeal and complain. They don't have a cherry picking selection service for when people, an admission selection, whatever they like to determine. It's down to the council. They say yes, no. And it's all based on catchment, as we know.
Right, there we go.
But I'm just like, you can't, I know it's bigger than this. And the fact that this white man, older white man, is telling my black son that he's lucky to be in a school like this, that's him just leaking his racism all out on my son. And then when I challenge him on that, he's telling me it's miscommunication. And you know, it ended up that man said that we need to investigate this and he needs to speak to this parent with a third party involved. And when I asked him all of the different scenarios, you know that the man never denied not one time. He said, yeah, I did say that. I did say that.
Wow.
That head teacher sat there and didn't even say, well, hold on a minute. You're admitting that you've said X, Y, and Z. We're going to have a conversation and this is going to have to be followed through. Nothing. She just sat there. She just sat there and said that I appreciate, Simone, you know, that you've allowed him to say what he said and blah, blah, blah. I said, I don't feel that you should be a teaching assistant in any school. You should not be working with anybody's child. But I said this, he still ends up being in the school. Still ends up being in the school. I've left, the man's still in the school. He's still in the school. I had to tell him straight. That's when the angry black woman came out of me. I said, you see, when you see my son, you better turn around and go the other way. I said, I do not want to hear that you've communicated with him in any way. You've made any snide remarks to him, or you said anything that discriminates against him because of the color of his skin. I don't want to hear that, because if I do, Wandsworth Council will be down here. That's for all you that's wondering, oh, I wonder what borough she's in. I'm in Wandsworth. I'm in Wandsworth. And I took my kids out of that school because they weren't doing nothing to address it. So I had to do it. Parents, don't be afraid. If you feel, and it's not even like if you feel, we all know what it is. It's very black and white for me when it comes to, if you're going to talk to me and treat me a certain way, I know it's because of the color of my skin. I already know. Because I sense it from the moment I interact with you. So I already know what it's about. So parents, please, if you ever feel that way, don't be afraid to open up a complaint, a grievance. Their policies should be on their website anyway. Don't be afraid. And also go to the council that you live, that your school is a part of, and speak to educational welfare. Don't be afraid. I'm telling you, because these teachers, head teachers or trust, whoever it is, needs to be held accountable. Because for every one child that leaves because they never got what they needed, there's another few, not even one more, there's another few. And as a parent, I want to say to other parents, please, like, if you feel any type of way, if your child is telling you something, there's got to be some truth to it. There has to be truth to it. they're not going to understand it's because of the color of their skin. They're just going to feel this is unfair, this is injustice, and the injustice is because of the color of their skin. I feel like I've spoken a lot, so I want you to
it's an important story to share.
It's like, and this is why I started the pod, because I have experiences, and I feel that I've shared more of my children's than of my own, because I know that the experiences I went through has led me to question the experiences my children have gone through.
Wow.
Or are going through, because I didn't have the time then I didn't go to my mum and be like, Mum, you know, blah, blah, or Dad, you know, I didn't do that. I just got on with it.
And that's how, unfortunately, that's how it is. When you bottle it up as well, and you don't even talk about these experiences, and that can have a real impact on the children. You know, that teacher was simply just displaying his teacher expectations, but what he was doing was he was projecting his teacher expectations onto a child, and teachers don't realize how detrimental that can be for students. I had teachers telling me I wasn't going to be anything. You know, they expected me to just be this little black girl that would just be doing nothing with my life. I was accused of doing so many things in my school that I had never ever done. That was not me, and that I was never there. But for some reason, my white deputy head teacher, she always had and found and said, "Get Rhia in my office. It must be Rhia. Has to be Rhia. Get her in here." And then the final straw was when she accused me of beating up a girl, and I was actually out with my mum. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And these expectations they place on you can have detrimental effects. So if you kept your son in that school, we don't know how that would have manifested or what that would have turned into. The trauma that children face.
Exactly.
And it can begin in the classroom. A child might have a perfect home life, but the classroom is where their trauma is. And we fail to realize that. You know, that is where the most traumatic experiences are taking place, feeling like the other. I hate when people try to dismantle this idea that children will not feel like the other. Yes, they can. They can very much feel like the other when their experiences are not taken into account. And so if the teacher was, the head teacher, as you said, was basically disregarding his experience, then the child will feel like the other. They do not feel like they are taken care of. They do not feel like they are welcomed with open arms. And that's the worst place for it to begin, because when it begins in the classroom, it will manifest itself into the workplace, and it will manifest itself into all areas of their lives.
And I feel that you as a teacher, Rhia, you're trying to tackle that, especially with your platform. And what do you want to say now to parents, to teachers, to maybe head teachers, deputy, supply, just everybody is involved in the the education system, or at some point their child or a loved one, a friend, family, whoever it is, will go through education. So what kind of message can you send to those groups of people, just adults or even young people, just to everybody right now?
I just really think it's important to do self-reflection. So even as a young Black woman, even as you could be a white woman, you could be a white man, whatever. I think self-reflection is key. And I think in this particular moment in time, we have to think about how we are challenging our own implicit biases, because I sometimes really hate this idea that it's only white people. They say only white people have implicit bias. No, Black people hold unconscious biases as well.
Yep.
They really do. And we manifest them more than other cultures and other races do. You know, however many days ago, Black Pound Day, with the buying from Black businesses, you know, I have had a lot of people saying, well, I don't buy from Black businesses because, you know, Black businesses don't have really great service. Black businesses, and I'm saying to myself, okay, cool, but, you know, we're actually propelling our own unconscious bias onto our own people. And so I'm saying, when are we going to do some serious self-reflection and tackle the own issues that we are facing from within? Because everything that comes out of us is just a projection. I say this to people, it's a projection of how you feel about yourself, it's a projection of how you see yourself within society. And so for educators, for parents, do self-reflection. Are you having conversations with your child about their school day? Are you sitting down with them and asking them what they discussed in school today? Are you actually talking to them about these issues? Or are you letting the TV do it for you? To the school leaders, why are you talking about Black Lives Matter? Is it for you to tick a box? Does your staff workforce reflect the students?
Exactly.
You're talking about Black Lives Matter, but how many Black teachers do you have? How many Black teachers do you have in SLT positions? I know 2 Black teachers in the last week that have gone for jobs and they haven't got them because their white counterpart has got them. You know, I tell people of my own experience being offered a middle leadership role so early on in my career of teaching, and I turned it down because I was not valued. The money was so low that I thought to myself, well, I'm not valued. But then again, my head teacher wants me to sit down and be talking about Black Lives Matter with the kids and be having these discussions with the staff. Are you valuing your Black staff? Are you valuing your Black children? And I'm not saying are you valuing your BAME children. I am talking about your Black children. Today, I'm not talking about Asian ethnic minority. I am talking about the Black children. I'm talking about the Black African and Black Caribbean children that have to navigate themselves through this world. Yeah, so it's very, very, very different. The experience of a Black African or Black Caribbean educator will be different to that of an Asian educator. I'm not saying we don't all face problems, but we need to look at them from a different aspect.
Yeah.
And so I'm asking people today to really just reflect on themselves. What are parents doing? Are parents going to the schools? Are you asking questions? Parents can run a school, you know. Because schools are so scared of parents.
Yes, they are.
You think schools are scared of teachers? They are scared of parents. When parents start to talk, it will damage the reputation of a school. Remember, we're in an environment where schools are marketing themselves to get students for revenue. I work in a school which is focused on the numbers. Don't get it twisted out here. People really need to really think about this when I'm talking about this idea that some of our spaces for our kids are not actually conducive to their futures, because the schools are focused on numbers, they're focused on money. How many kids can we bring in? How much money can we get? And where can we save the money? Well, we'll save the money by asking a Black girl to do a job and we'll pay her less for it. That's what my head teacher was insinuating to me this year. And so that's why I picked up my bags and I said, well, I will see you later.
Don't blame me.
What that means for my students, though, what that means for my Black students is that's another Black teacher that they've lost.
Gone, yeah.
All because the education system does not work in the favor of Black educators. Black educators are seen as a commodity, a revolving door. You can get one in and one out. One in and one out. It's nothing more, nothing less. And so when the education system starts to change, when our classrooms start to reflect our students, then we'll still see real change. But to me, a workforce of teachers that are 84% white won't be able to implement the changes that we want. We need allies, but we do need representation. We do.
I mean, we need allies. It's not all and representation. It's not always about allies, people from other communities that are willing to challenge. We need representation too. We really do need representation, especially in schools. Especially. It's really, really important. Really. So if there's anybody out there that's currently doing a TA course, or they're an LSA, or they want to get into teaching, or they have, I really, really please reach out to Black Teachers Connect. Rhia, your information will be down in the information box, but please tell people where they can find you.
Instagram, at Black Teachers Connect, Twitter at Black Teachers Co. We've got a Facebook group that you can join. We have an email subscription that you can join to get monthly news and updates from what we're doing. And you can simply just email me as well. You know, I have conversations with people every day. I give up my time for this. This is my purpose, and God has put that on me. And so my purpose is to serve the community and to ensure that Black educators that have come before me and after me are in a space in which they can thrive. And so that means that creating a space for my students in which they can thrive. I want to have Black educators that are so influential in the classroom that we have Black kids that say, you know what? I don't want to go into the city. I want to be a teacher because I want to make the change. Yeah. And so that's what we really, really need to see. It shouldn't take COVID-19 for people to start saying, oh my gosh, the key workers, the teachers, oh my gosh, we love the teachers, we love the nurses, we love the... It shouldn't take a pandemic for you to start now saying, woohoo, clapping every single Thursday. Well, because we've been teaching all year round.
Yeah.
We didn't just start teaching. We've been teaching. Nurses have been saving lives. Doctors have been saving lives. It didn't just start. So for me, at some point, we have to let that narrative go. Okay, coronavirus is still here, but at some point, you have to say to yourself, teachers should be getting those thanks every single day. It's the same in all of our different sectors. So for me, we're creating the community for Black teachers. So please utilize it. Reach out to us. We're here to support you. And yeah, we're just here. We're just growing, and we're trying to create that community and that safe space for our educators.
Rhia, thank you so much. Like, I swear we could go on talking for another hour.
We probably could. We probably could.
Oh no, thank you so much. Like, this has just been, it's been really refreshing. It's more motivating and inspirational. I always see myself as somebody that wants to continuously learn and grow. And even though I did say in a live a couple of weeks ago that I can be a bit shy, and my family and friends that were in the live were putting eyes and question marks. Shy? Who? Nah, don't think so. Like, I really feel that my passion is youth work. It is youth work. But tackling injustice and racism, it's just as equally what fires me, because it happens on a day-to-day basis, and I know just how important education is in playing a role. And I really, really want to thank you for reaching out and for coming on the show with me. I think we may have to take it to a live when this episode is.
You know, I'm ready. I'm ready when you're ready. I can't stop talking anyway. I talk all the time. So as my kids would say in the classroom, man, it's like, stop. Even when they're doing work, and I'm like, all right, silent work now. And then I'll open my mouth again and be like, can you just like, hush? I don't stop talking, so we can do it whenever.
Oh my gosh, before we go, as a key worker, please tell people what your day is like, because you're still teaching.
Yeah, I'm still teaching. People think that, even when this is done, so when we finish recording, I'm about to jump back on my laptop, finish a few things in preparation for tomorrow. Some people assume that I'm having these lions, sipping on pina coladas at 12 in the afternoon, watching whatever reality TV program. I'm sitting here teaching, running out with my dry throat because the kids don't want to turn on their microphone and speak. So I'm here just talking in the live lesson like I'm on my own, marking work. Kids are saying you work at 12 a.m. in the night, and at 9 o'clock in the morning they're saying, Miss, did you get my work? I haven't got the feedback yet. I don't know. Am I supposed to wake up in the middle of the night and mark? I don't know. But teachers are working so hard right now. So I just big up every single teacher that really has just been doing their hardest, especially the teachers that I haven't got kids. I've got teachers at home that I've got kids like yourself, so when you might be working from home, you've got, you know what I'm saying, you've got kids in the house and you're trying to teach, you're trying to also teach your kids whilst you're teaching other people's children. So it's so difficult. So, you know, honestly, I'm hoping that we can get back to normal soon. But yeah, honestly, big up everyone. But yeah, it's definitely difficult working from home. But we're safe and we're good and we're healthy, and that's all I can thank God for at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, we need more teachers like you, Rhia. We really do. And any teacher that just wants to reach out, have a conversation, get involved, whatever it is, please hit up Rhia at Black Teachers Connect. Please hit her up, because unity
is what we need.
Sharing is caring. So Rhia, once again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Guys, you know what to do. Get the following, get the commenting. So guys, thank you so much for listening. And as I always say, I look forward to continuing to learn and grow with you all. That's a bye from me.
See you later.